We don't support any candidate or any political party. But we do support getting the community to pay attention. We support people learning about the issues. We try to help that. And we support people getting registered to vote. And if you haven't called your national senator yet to complain about the Save America Act, you should, because it might take away your right to vote. That's the kind of thing we can tell you, because we're nonpartisan, but we're political. By the way, we always need volunteers. I just thought I'd mention that. We have some more forums coming up. Put these on your calendar. Next week, Menomonie School Board Candidate Forum on Thursday, March 26th at the high school auditorium. Later in April, April 28th, we'll be holding an informational forum. How do we respond? Immigration and due process. That will be at Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Eau Claire. You can also find these if you go to our website, lwv-gcv.org. I have to think of it that way.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's our website, and it's not too hard to find, and you can see the calendar there for events. Today's forum will be live streamed on YouTube and on the LWV GCV Facebook page. And I really want to offer my thanks to Steve Hansen and Undone County for making this possible. He's the gentleman in the back room with the equipment there. Not everybody can make it here, but I'm so glad to see all of you. Now I'm going to read you the guidelines for this forum. The order of who does the opening statement has been determined by lottery. And Matthew Crow will go first because he drew the number 1. And that will alternate with each question, so he doesn't always get to be first. The candidates' opening statements will be followed by questions that have been developed in advance by the league with suggestions from members and members of the public. The candidates have not seen these questions yet. The questions will be directed to each candidate in turn, with their responses to be one at a time. We ask that responses and statements pertain to issues of the job as mayor and the candidate's qualifications, rather than to be about the character of the opponent. There will be a time limit on the candidates' responses. Judy Ferber is over there with 2 signs, one that says 30 seconds to go and one that says stop. Because we don't want to be here until midnight, guys. Yeah. We'll try to reserve time to consider audience questions, and if you have a question for the candidates, please write it on an index card. There will be a volunteer circulating to pick up those cards, and it'll be, we hope to address several of them. The forum will conclude with closing statements from each candidate. And I don't know the answer to this yet. I had a chance to ask. Will you be able to stay for a few minutes after the event to talk to people? So you might like to visit with them. Okay. Now I'm going to introduce to you our question moderator, Afton Greco. She is director of Menard Center for the Study of Institutions and Innovation at UW-Stout, and her organization has worked with us before on events, and I'm so glad to have her here today. Afton?
Good evening. As Ellen mentioned, my name is Afton Greco.
I'm a philosophy professor at UW Stout, where I also direct the Mayoral Center. The center is a nonpartisan, non-ideological academic center at UW Stout with a mission to promote the study and discussion of civil liberties through scholarly inquiry, educational activities, and community outreach. I'm going to turn now to the questions which were prepared in advance by league members and members of the public. As Ellen mentioned, these questions have not been shared publicly or have been shared with the candidates, so this is the first time we are answering these questions. We'll begin with 2-minute opening statements by each candidate in response to the question, what are your most important qualifications for the job of mayor?
Downtown Menomonie Board, Tourism Committee, the Local Emergency Planning Committee, the Housing Committee, and I really just jumped in. Also was on the Recreation Advisory Committee as well, so really went all in for this community. And I have a family, loving wife. I have 3 kids, ages 11, 10, and 4. They're really busy, and they're really a part of the Menomonie school system here with their different sports and athletics and with their different organizations in the school also. Some of my qualifications is I have almost 2 decades of environmental engineering experience, and we're going to get into that as well. And just want to really talk about the plan and strategic plan that I have for the city, and not just a strategic plan, but really a proven blueprint, for the city that will help us to strategically grow while keeping our rural roots and our values and our culture intact, here as well. I was also a college football coach after I got done playing college football, and been a high school football coach, junior high, track coach, all the way down to youth sports as well. So with that coaching and with being in senior leadership roles at several companies over the past decade, I think I have a unique skill set to help bring the community together, on top of some technical skills that will help with the ordinances and zoning that will bring good developments to Menomonie while keeping our citizens safe.
All right, I now invite Randy Knapp to make his 2-minute opening statement in response to the same question.
Okay, again, thank you everybody for being here. Thanks to the League of Women Voters. Steve, you always do a great job on Iron County and so forth. That being said, I think through the years I've gotten knowledge and background on how to be a good mayor. First couple years I got in there, I felt like I couldn't get anything done. It took me 3 to 4 years before I could finally get a grip on what was really happening in Menomonie and getting the city council to work with me. Immediately after that, we got the dredging done on Wolski's Bay, cleaned up the stink, made a movement that says, hey, we can do something about our lake and our waterways, push that forward. Brought in over $100 million in the last 10 years in development and growth out in the industrial park. That includes Ellsworth Cheese Factory, in addition to Bill's Distributing, Brown Strauss, and a lot of other factories and jobs out in the industrial and tech parks. I was born and raised here. I grew up on a farm just east of 3M on 3M Drive. My father died when I was 19. I was going to go to college, but instead I stayed back, took over Canax Advertising. My mom sold Tanglewood Golf Course, and my brother took over the farm, which now sits underneath Walmart Distribution and that area out there. So I sing with the Barbershop Quartets, barbershop member since I was 17. I'm semi-retired, which fits the mayor's office very well, because if you weren't retired, I don't know how you could spend enough time doing that job. It can be very demanding. I drive the school bus at night and in the morning for special needs kids, and my wife is a chaperone in the morning for little kids. It's great. She enjoys it. The kids come in singing songs in the morning to school, and it's so much fun. I love Menomonie. Menomonie is my hometown. I was born and raised here. I grew up here, and I think I offer a lot to the city of Menomonie in the mayor's position. So, thank you.
All right, here's the second question, and this time Randy Knapp will answer first. What do you see as the most significant challenges that the city of Menomonie will face in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, budgeting is always tough. We try to maintain tax levels at an even rate and not to try to go above inflationary standards. We do have a couple of situations that are always constant on our schedule. Long-term planning on better roads. How do we keep our roads intact? Plowing, how much salt is going to cost next year? What is our prediction for how much fuel is going to cost? much is labor going to cost? We have a couple of unions in town, the police and the fire unions. That being said, when we negotiate for long terms, 2 and sometimes 3 years out now, and that's really helped us. We have rolled our long-term debt and consolidated it. When I first got into the mayor's office, we were running around 36 million. I think we're right around 24 million. We need debt, though, in order to maintain a good, not only credit rating, but also helps with the city. For instance, the Public Works facility that we built 4 or 5 years ago for $6 million now would cost us $12 million. So if we went to incur that debt at about 2% interest, we'd be paying a lot more for that infrastructure. So I guess in essence, it's the budget, maintaining a budget within our realms. Eau Claire, Wisconsin just announced they were $2 million shy of meeting their budget, and we're at even budget. So I'm really proud of my staff and the employees of the city of Menomonie, and I'm super proud of our the community and everybody that comes together to get things done in our community. We have an amazing city. UW Stout does so many good things for Menomonie. If you go out and abroad and you travel the United States, I don't know if there's any finer community to live in than Menomonie. So I think Menomonie is where it's at, and home is really where the heart is, and this is where I was born and raised, and this is where my heart is Menomonie, Wisconsin, along with you.
Yeah, so I think some of the main challenges that we're going to face in the next 3 to 5 years is we have some growth stagnation, especially in the tech and industrial parks. We have a historic downtown Menomonie that has more shops closed down than in the past 40 years. That's the backbone of our local economy, and our vibrancy must be restored there. We need a government that's fiscally responsible and is transparent, and that the last thing would be, housing. Housing and rentals is a big thing, and I've championed, housing rental ordinances to help with our housing stock that's currently deteriorating, and look forward to bringing housing developments here to Menomonie, working with Tanglewood Golf Course to help get some housing developments out there, and with the lack of stagnation, we really need a strategic plan for the tech park, the industrial park, and for downtown, and a budget that fits that. Without that, you're just throwing money at the wall and hoping something sticks, and hope's not a strategy. And so, with that, bringing in developers that fit our culture and that are responsible operators, and what that means is that they are environmentally responsible, they have good safety records, low workman's comp, that they...
His 2-minute opening statement in response to the same question.
Okay, again, thank you everyone for being here. Thanks to the League of Women Voters. Steve, you always do a great job on Dunn County and so forth. That being said, I think I'm, through the years, I've gotten knowledge and background on how to be a good mayor. First couple of years I got in there, I felt like I couldn't get anything done. It took me 3 to 4 years before I could finally get a grip on what was really happening in Menomonie and getting the city council to work with me. Immediately after that, we got the dredging done on Wolski's Bay, cleaned up the stink. I made a movement that says, hey, we can do something about our lake and our waterways. Push that forward. Brought in over $100 million in the last 10 years in development growth out in the industrial park. That includes Ellsworth Cheese Factory, in addition to Bill's Distributing, Brown Strauss, and a lot of other factories and jobs out in the industrial and tech parks. I was born and raised here. I grew up on a farm just east of 3M on 3M Drive. My father died when I was 19. I was going to go to college, but instead I stayed back, took over Knack's Advertising. My mom sold Tanglewood Golf Course, and my brother took over the farm, which now sits underneath Walmart distribution and that area out there. So I sing with the barbershop quartets, barbershop members since I was 17. I'm semi-retired, which fits the mayor's office very well, because if you weren't retired, I don't know how you could spend enough time doing that job. It can be very demanding. I drive a school bus at night and in the morning for special needs kids, and my wife is a chaperone in the morning for little kids. It's great. She enjoys it. The kids come in singing songs in the morning to school, and it's so much fun. I love Menomonie. Menomonie is my hometown. I was born and raised here. I grew up here. And I think I offer a lot to the city of Menomonie in the mayor's position. So, thank you.
All right, here's the second question, and this time Randy Knack will answer first. What do do you see as the most significant challenges that the city of Menomonie will face in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, budgeting is always tough. We try to maintain tax levels at an even rate and not try to go above inflationary standards. We do have a couple of situations that are always constant on our schedule. Long-term planning on better roads. How do we keep our roads intact? Plowing, how much salt is going to cost next year? What is our prediction for how much fuel is going to cost? How much is labor going to cost? We have a couple of unions in town, the police and the fire unions. That being said, when we negotiate for long terms, 2 and sometimes 3 years out now, and that's really helped us. We have rolled our long-term debt and consolidated it. When I first got into the mayor's office, we were running around 36 million. I think we're right around 24 million. We need debt, though, in order to maintain a good, not only credit rating, but also helps with the city. For instance, the public works facility that we built 4 or 5 years ago for 6 million now would cost us 12 million. So if we went to incur that debt at about 2% interest, we'd be paying a lot more for that infrastructure. So I guess in essence, it's the budget, maintaining a budget within our realms. Eau Claire, Wisconsin just announced they were $2 million shy of meeting their budget, and we're at even budget. So I'm really proud of my staff and the employees of the city of Menomonie, and I'm super proud of our the community and everybody that comes together to get things done in our community. We have an amazing city. UW Stout does so many good things for Menomonie. If you go out and abroad and you travel the United States, I don't know if there's any finer community to live in than Menomonie. So I think Menomonie is where it's at, and home is really where the heart is, and this is where I was born and raised, and this is where my heart is, Menomonie, Wisconsin, along with you.
Yeah, so I think some of the main challenges that we're going to face in the next 3 to 5 years is we have some growth stagnation, especially in the tech and industrial parks. We have a historic downtown Menomonie that has more shops closed down in the past 40 years. That's the backbone of the local economy, and our vibrancy must be restored there. We need a government that's fiscally responsible and is transparent, and that the last thing would be, housing. Housing and rentals is a big thing, and I've championed, housing rental ordinances to help with our housing stock that's currently deteriorating, and look forward to bringing housing developments here to Menomonie, working with Tanglewood Golf Course to help get some housing developments out there, and with the lack of stagnation, we really need a strategic plan for the tech park, the industrial park, and for downtown, and a budget that fits that. Without that, you're just throwing money at the wall and hoping something sticks, and hope's not a strategy. And so, with that, bringing in developers that fit our culture and that are responsible operators, and what that means is that they are environmentally responsible, they have good safety records, low workman's comp, that they are investing in the community, supply a large amount of jobs to the area. They're not just here to exploit, and that will help us grow our tax base and bring in more revenue that's desperately needed here in Menomonie, and lower your taxes here as well. As far as being transparent, I've been with one of the most transparent, if not the most transparent city council member, with everything that I put out on Facebook, with different interviews that I've done, public statements that I've done, and I look forward to doing more transparency in the future with having town hall meetings and having state of the city addresses, and really being out in the public there.
Third question. As the city of Menomonie seeks new private land development or responds to requests from private developers, what should city officials do to ensure accountability and transparency for the residents of Menomonie? And Matthew Kraut will respond first.
Yeah, I think we need to really, tell our citizens every step along the way of what's going on. We really need to take a look at NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and how we handle those non-disclosure agreements, and who do they protect? Do they protect the city, or do they protect the company that might be coming into here? And we need to let them know about what the project is well ahead of time, and we need the full scale of these projects. And with the whole data center debacle, we've seen a lack of transparency and a lack of, what does this bring to the city? What revenue is it going to bring in? What impact is it going to have with the environment? Who's the end user of this, of this data center here. So I think, we need to have as much transparency, like I said. When we have these things, we need to have these town halls, we need to have public statements, we need to have press conferences and let people know well ahead of time, and not just have the city council agendas that, the packets come out on Thursday and then we're voting on these things the next Monday, and we want community input with that as well.
Well, there's a lot that goes into land use. There's a lot that goes into housing and affordable housing. In the last couple of years, I championed the Estover Terrace and Echo Cottages. Echo Cottages is an area where you go in and establish how much money you make, and then they establish how much your rent is going to cost. A lot of what the problems are right now is when we put a request for proposals out there, it comes back to us, we want to do a 12-plex or an 8-plex or multiple housing, and the cost of that, the rent is so high. You're looking at $1,400, $1,600, $1,800 a month, and that's not what I consider affordable housing. When it comes to housing projects, number one is, will it have a well and septic, or will it be connected to city water and sewer? If it's connected to city water and sewer, well, then the city needs to run water and sewer to those areas. That's a cost. Who's going to pay for that cost? Is it in a TID district, a tax increment finance district? How are we going to make that happen? Where is our urban sprawl? Is it connected, or is it outside the city boundaries? Is it in the townships? That's one of the issues we've got with Tanglewood. I brought Mark here to open up Tanglewood. I'm really proud of Tanglewood. I was sitting at the table one night when my mother got to name Tanglewood, when my father was putting two farms together to make a golf course. So I've got a long history in Menomonie, and Tanglewood is a great spot, but housing is complicated out there because we do not have city water and sewer out there currently. We were looking at city water and sewer. We made it into a TID district for Mark, the owner of Tanglewood now. And in a few years, 5 to 7 years, we'll have financing for them to be able to do some housing. But currently, without that TID developing financing, it's hard to do those kinds of developments. So what we're looking at now is we made the lot sizes. Oh, I gotta stop. Oh, I want to come back to that.
Next question. As the proposed data center has been considered by the city, questions have been raised about the practice of city officials signing non-disclosure agreements, also known as NDAs. How should city officials respond to developers asking for NDAs? And Randy Knappel answer first.
Okay, thank you. That's a complex question in of itself, because a lot of times when you've got a developer coming to Menomonie, they will not even talk to you unless you're willing to sign an NDA. And, an NDA, I guess, in some practical purposes is meaningful. I think in hindsight, yes. I think I would have probably done some things different with the current data center NDAs. I think anything like that's that big, we should put a policy in place that the city council approves the NDA before it's signed. And I think that would eliminate some of the problems that we may have. But if you've got a McDonald's coming to town and they want to come to town and they don't want to put the word out that they're coming to town, or a Burger King is going to come to town, then that's a problem. And then, so you get caught in this exchange of, do you sign an NDA or don't you sign an NDA? And so it's, when Ellsworth Cheese Factory came to town, NDA was signed. When 3M came to town, NDA was signed. When Walmart Distribution came to town, NDA was signed. It's a common practice. How we can tighten that practice up? Absolutely, I think so. We're looking at procedures, policies that we could put in place that the mayor would say, hey, this is a pretty sizable concern, and I think at this point we take it to the city council, then they approve that, hey, administrator, public works director, we're going to approve you to sign an NDA. Not that they can share that information, but at least that there would be an approval process to make those things happen. So I don't know if I'm totally opposed to an NDA, or if we just need better guidelines to prevent any malpractice of an NDA. I think it can be good for both the city and the developer to have a good means to deal with NDAs.
Yeah, so kind of going back to my previous answer with and bringing up the transparency of the NDAs, it's really who does the NDA protect? And yes, NDAs are a common practice, but I think it's also an old school practice that needs to be looked at. We're seeing more and more communities completely go away from NDAs. Superior, Wisconsin has gone away from NDAs, and I've talked to people on the Dunn County Economic Development Corporation, which I am a part of, and I'm asking, is this viable? Is this a possible option for us to do? And they said, yes, it is possible for us to do. You don't want to add more barriers and more red tape and more bureaucracy. However, I think you have to look at, who does this NDA protect? Is it protecting the city? Is it protecting our residents? Is it protecting, the development that's going to be good for us, or is it protecting a company that's here to possibly exploit us as well? And what is all in the NDA? Is it just what the end user is? Is it some of the pre-development agreements? I think that's part of it, as well. So I'm not going to say that I'm completely against NDAs. But we have to have a serious, policy and programs in place to really look into. Do we ban NDAs, especially if it is for protecting the corporation that's coming in and not the city of Menomonie?
Next question. Communities across Wisconsin want to grow their tax base through responsible development. What steps would you as mayor take in supporting policies that encourage private investment and economic growth in Menomonie? And Matthew Crow will answer first.
Yeah, I think I'm very well suited for this. I have almost 2 decades of environmental engineering experience, and that's really taking, two polar opposites on paper and making them come together and realizing that we all have the same goal. That it's not just all about being profitable and having a thriving economy or having a good environment, but you can have both. And that we all want, a thriving economy, but we all want clean air, we all want clean water, we all want good quality land, and we all want to protect our residents and our workers as well. And so I have experience in several different industries, manufacturing industries, energy, mining, and all that. So I think I have a really unique expertise in this area to help bring these developers in while having zoning in place that protects the city and protects the resident, not just for the short term, but the long term, making sure that they're paying for the developments, but also paying for the cleanup as well, that the cleanup's not going to be left on the city and the taxpayers. And that, I mentioned this earlier, that we have responsible operators coming in that have good environmental records, that have good safety records, low workman's comp, that pay well, that share profits, and help boost wages and competition for the rest of Menomonie. Wages have been stagnant due to a lack of development that has come in here over several years now. So again, that kind of goes into my plan and the blueprint to have the industrial park and tech park be full of responsible operators that will help increase our tax base so that we pay less taxes here. And like I said, with my almost 2 decades of experience in environmental compliance, reporting, permitting, and sustainability, I think I am well suited for this.
Okay, I've had about 16 years of bringing businesses into Menomonie, and I think I've done very well with it. I don't sit at the desk. I'm out talking to people every day. When I'm talking to a customer, I'm saying, hey, have you ever thought about moving to Menomonie? Have you ever thought about having your business in Menomonie? Hence, Ellsworth Cheese Factory is here. We had over $100 million worth of buildup in our industrial and tech park in the last 10 years. That's over and above the first 6 years. First 3 years, I had to get my feet under me. And I think that we've done immense, great business. The nice thing about Menomonie is the diverse styles of businesses that are out there, not just one type of business. We've got the sand mine that takes the sand over to the glass factory. The glass factory makes the windows. The windows go to Anderson Windows. Then they get distributed out of a distribution center. And if you look at the jobs that Walmart Distribution's brought, 3M has brought, Bill's Distributing is Addition, Phillips Plastics right now is adding on. We just brought Amazon factory in. It's going to give 150 jobs, last day delivery services. Menomonie is doing really, really well. There are some times that, hey, maybe a certain business wouldn't work here. There was a business that wanted to do a carpet manufacturing plant here. They wanted to use, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water a day, and the PODs coming back to our sewer plant would have shut our entire sewer plant down. That won't work. There was a couple other businesses here that were unstable. They wanted to come in and they wanted to do this great big build out and so forth, and when we started looking into their past histories, not so excited about having them here in Menomonie. So there's more than just saying, hey, we can do this and we've got a plan together. No, our sites are gold shovel awarded, meaning they're ready to go with Xcel Energy, with the power that they need. The ground is stable. It's not just, it's good building soil. We've got a lot going on here in Menomonie than what you might think. So having the past history, I think, is great. Thank you.
Next question. Do you feel that there are unhelpful barriers to development or redevelopment in Menomonie? If so, how would you work to address them? Randy answers first.
Well, there always is some guidelines that may not be conducive to bringing a certain business here. We've been approached to having a incinerator put out in our industrial park so that people would haul their garbage from all over the place to have it incinerated here in Menomonie. What that would do would be added truck traffic, added car traffic, added air pollution, added cost, and I'm not so sure that an incinerator really fits Menomonie or Dunn County. So that's one of those situations where that might not be so good. As far as barriers go, we did set up TIF districts as many times as we can, and a TIF district is a tax increment district, meaning that any taxes that get paid by those folks in that district come directly to the city until we can pay off the infrastructure, and then it gets shared by all the other entities, the county, the tech college, and the school district. So we have several TIF districts in the area, and they work well. As far as barriers go, it'd be great if we could say, hey, company, come to our city and we'll give you $10 million. Or come to our city and we have unlimited amount of sewer plant and unlimited amount of water that you can use. Or come to Menomonie and, yeah, we guess we don't care if you pollute our lake just a little bit, just don't do it a lot. So yeah, there are some barriers, but Menomonie is open for business. We do everything we can, and I think our past record will agree that Menomonie does very well inviting businesses here, good businesses, not ones that take advantage of our employees. They're good employers, they have clean businesses, and Menomonie is doing very well. So the barriers are few here in Menomonie, and there are people coming from all over the state inquiring on whether or not they should come to Menomonie. Our school district is second to none, our colleges, everything is like, stop. Thank you.
Yes, I do believe that we have some barriers and some red tape and bureaucracy. As far as development goes, I know Anderson Windows wants to expand. We lost out to a 3D printed manufacturing company that the Chamber of Commerce brought here, and they said that because of the lack of housing and the lack of rentals that we have, and the fact that the housing stock that we do have is deteriorating, they chose not to come here, and said that they couldn't convince their employees to move to Menomonie. And so I think that if we do our housing developments, and we've had some housing and rental developments that were vetoed and only to be overridden by the city council, and still came in, and that gave the message to developers loud and clear that they were not developer friendly and to stay away from Menomonie. So I think our housing and our current rental stock and our deteriorating rental stock is a big barrier to bringing in and attracting new businesses. I think our downtown and having some empty storefronts is a barrier. I also think that it's hard to recruit kids to come to UW South in the current condition. And I think we have some challenges in Menomonie that our credit rating is at the bottom third of the state of Wisconsin. We are $26 million in debt, and I would be more comfortable if we had more to show for that and the services that come with that as well. But I think we need to have some better zoning that will invite developers to come in while keeping our citizens safe and let people know that we're open for business. I think that starts with a fresh face. And I think that the business developers and the housing developers, the Chippewa Valley home builders are been told, not to come this direction, and I think new leadership will help let people know that we're open for business and new development come in.
Next question. When a proposed piece of public infrastructure or a major private project will require investment by the city, how would you judge whether that project is worth implementing and what values would you apply? And Matthew Crow will answer first.
Yeah, so I'm big on return on investments and making sure that the project is a good project that has a return on investment there. And we've talked about TIDs, and TIDs are kind of confusing, the tax increment districts. That gives some tax incentives there. There's some good TIDs and there's some bad TIDs. North Menomonie tax increment district is in debt. So we have to, do some math and make sure that the maths and make sure that it's something that's called a pay and go. Again, it's confusing, and I don't want to get into all the minute details there. But we have to make sure that it's good for not just the developer, not just for the jobs here, but that it's going to increase our tax base, and that it's something that's going to be sustainable in the future, as well there. And I've talked about the values quite a bit. The values, that I would apply, again, is this a good operator? Is this an operator that's going to come in, that's going to get good wages and raise everybody up and share profits and be clean and have good workman's comp, local workman's comp claim, and they have good safety records, and but making sure that we're using our tax incentives to the right operators, and that we're not over repaying them, and making sure that we use those tax increment dollars as capital projects for improvements in those districts after we get that TID to mature.
Well, there's always some hurdles. First you want to make sure whatever company's coming to town is good for the town, good for Menomonie. It's not something that's going to hurt the environment. It's going to have good paying jobs. It works in conjunction with Menomonie, meaning if it was a company that was going to pollute our air, or tie up our roads, or have heavy equipment that's going to be going in and out of the roads and tearing them up. And there's just a lot of factors to that. A couple of things to remember that our TID districts are doing very well. In fact, 5-6 years ago, we've been capturing dollars out of our TID districts to put into our affordable housing project, and we have $2.4 million now into our affordable housing project. Within the next couple of years, we are going to launch an affordable housing project second to none. I've been talking to lots of different builders. I've been talking to different people on how to get this done. I've met with mayors of different cities. How do we do affordable housing? I've met with the mayor of Madison, the mayor of La Crosse, the mayor of Milwaukee. There's always something that goes wrong somewhere, and I think we've got a plan put together for that. And when it comes to bringing in public infrastructure, we work with Stout a lot. They just put a 3D printer, concrete printer, and we're looking at using that possibly for construction of houses. There are other things that we can do in Menomonie. The TID districts are amazing. They help bring in builders. I mean, if Heritage Builders or anybody wanted to come into town and put some building projects together, if they look at their TID districts, our TID districts are viable and have money to back these things. Our biggest problem that we've got right now is infrastructure on water and sewer, and that's one of the holdups. But as far as private partners, absolutely, we're open for business. Bring it on, and we'll make it happen.
Next question. Leadership in local government often requires collaboration among people with different viewpoints. How can a mayor build trust and maintain a constructive working environment within city government? And Randy Knack will answer first.
Okay, when I first got into the mayor's office, my kids came to see me, and they wouldn't let them back to see me because they didn't have an appointment. I found out about it at supper time that night. Wow. So that immediately changed the next day. And I have an open door policy. Anybody wants to come in and see me, please come in and call me, talk to me, email me, walk in the door if I'm there, absolutely. Meet me someplace. Sometimes there's an employee that's disgruntled. They don't want to talk to you at City Hall. Can I meet you at Burger King or McDonald's, or can I talk to you off-site? Absolutely. When our negotiations were going on with the different unions, there was always this big pushback because we didn't work together. Well, we resolved that, and some of it was just a a simple thing like, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Police Officer, thank you, Mr. Fireman, or thank you, city workers, for doing the job that you do. And that's a huge part of it. You know, it's being forward with people. People can come up and talk to me on the street, they can talk to me in my office, they can call me. I'm an open book. And one of the things I did the first year is I bought Christmas presents for all the employees. And the administrator said, we don't have a budget for that. I said, well, I'm just going to cover it myself. I took them out, and I made the administrator and the public works director go with me to hand deliver these Christmas presents to all of our employees. That built so much goodwill in of itself. It was worth the money. The next year, we did the same thing, and we continue that today. But it has saved thousands and thousands of dollars in goodwill and bargaining with our unions. The other day, my wife, the guys went out to snowplow snow all night or all day. My wife made a great big batch of chili. Took it down, gave it to the guys. That is so goodwill, and they so appreciate it. And we appreciate all the work that they do. Our city workers are amazing. From the guy that crawls down in and fixes a broken pipe in the middle of winter, to the guy that's out street sweeping. Our firemen, our policemen, there is no better. And so hats go off to all that. Goodwill is good in Menomonie.
Yeah, so the question was on leadership and provide a lot of good leadership qualities here again. Was coaching and for college football, high school athletics, all the way down to the youth soccer. I've also been in senior leadership roles through several different industries and been managing people for a long time. And with that, you know, I'm not a micromanager. Nobody likes a micromanager. I don't need to be on a bunch of committees and be a voting member of the committees. Yes, I'll stop in to the different committees and the different commissions and sit in on the meetings, but I don't need to micromanage the city. We need to, you know, make sure that we have people on these committees and commissions that are diverse, and we don't just want yes people on these, and we want to be respectful to everyone's thoughts and opinions and experiences, and make sure that we're not just recruiting people to run for, you know, city council to be on these commissions that are just going to be yes people, but making sure that we're getting all of the relevant information that we need to make the best decision possible. And I think it's important to know that, you know, when I get elected mayor, that the city council doesn't report to me, I report to the city council, and that I work for them, and that we work together, and that we have a good, respectful dialogue. Right now, there's division, you know, in the city council, there's been some tense, you know, meetings lately, and even comments when I go to some of these commission meetings that, wow, it was amazing that the city council meeting went smoothly this go around, and everybody was civil. And I look forward to leading the city council. We're all not going to agree on things. The vote's not always going to go your way. It hasn't always gone my way, and that's okay. You go to the next city council meeting, you advocate for what you believe in and what your values are, and I respect everybody that is on that city council, and I believe I've handled myself very professional, and that's how we...
All right, next question. Residents want our downtown to be healthy and successful. What steps would you take as mayor to improve the health and success of our downtown? And Matthew Crow will answer first.
Yeah, so downtown Menomonie is the backbone of our local community. Vibrancy must be restored. I look forward to making strategic investments into downtown Menomonie, like having green spaces, walking pavilions, getting foot traffic from the lake, making sure that we have businesses downtown and office space downtown. You know, not just the storefronts, but making sure that we have office buildings and people that are going to work every day in downtown Menomonie, and they can go have lunch on their lunch breaks right there. They can meet their families there afterwards. They can, you know, go shopping and have regulars downtown as well, and make sure that we have a strategic plan for that. And make sure that we have something for young kids and families to do that brings them downtown, like an indoor playground, whether if that's Parks and Rec related, or if it's privately owned like Fort Treasures, or a children's museum that we could maybe get back here as well. We don't really have a rhyme or reason to why we do things in downtown. We have a bookstore that sells children's books right next to a CBD vape shop. You know, so that's not a good combo to have right next to each other. So We'd like to address the parking situations downtown. We do get some diagonal parking in there where we can, but we have a lot of empty storefronts there, and the ones that aren't are struggling down there as well. So I'd like to bring some investments that would bring people downtown, keep people downtown, have some regulars, and really just kind of work and collaborate with those downtown businesses. I'm part of the Downtown Menomonie board. We have great talent, great people downtown, and we need to make this a destination downtown, not just for the residents of Menomonie, but for the surrounding area, Minneapolis, Eau Claire, Rice Lake, that people come to Menomonie, spend in Menomonie, even stay here in Menomonie.
Okay, well, downtown Menomonie is a challenge. We recently had a fire downtown Menomonie. The building next door to it, of course, is a single wall, and it's a situation. All of downtown, when I first got to be mayor, I pushed hard to bring more businesses into downtown. I found out in a hurry that a lot of the buildings in downtown are not owned by people that live in Menomonie. That's a real challenge. A lot of people just want their rent money, and they don't care what their buildings look like. Now, we've got funding available for facade loans and other loans. Jeff Rowley did an upgrade on the little George's, what used to be George's gas station from years ago on the corner by the post office there. That turned out to be a beautiful building, so thank you, Jeff Rowley. But the city did give him $10,000 grant money to help him with that project. And there is other grant monies. However, people that own the buildings have to take an interest in recreating their buildings, or you can't do anything. The other thing is we need walk-in traffic style buildings. We need a bakery, we need a cafe, we need things that people foot traffic into, even a chiropractic shop downtown, those kinds of things. Because if you have a business downtown that doesn't generate foot traffic, you're not doing anything real seriously good for downtown. Yes, it's great to have a building full, but you need foot traffic generating businesses downtown. The candy store does an amazing job downtown. Thank you. I appreciate them. The bars do a great job downtown. Some of them have great food. Ted's Pizza. My goodness, I've been going to Ted's Pizza since I was a kid. A great business downtown. The bike shop, great business downtown. So I think instead of looking at some of the bad things, we should be looking at the good things and adding more good things to the good things that we already have. Downtown is a work in progress. It's a challenge. Nothing's going to happen overnight downtown. We have the Downtown Menomonie board of people, and they're doing a great job, but it's tough. So we need more to happen, and thank you.
Next question. Access to affordable housing through ownership or renting has been identified as an issue by residents of Menomonie. What should the city and the mayor do to address that? And Randy will answer first.
All right. Well, we've been accumulating money from our TIF districts over the last 7 years. We've got $2.4 million accumulated. But do you know how much it takes to put in a road, or curb and gutter, or water and sewer to a housing development? Tons of money. When I talked to the mayor of La Crosse, she said, here's what we did for affordable housing in our area. We took an area, and people were able to get into a house for $150,000. And it was wonderful for the first 2 years. But then everybody sold their houses for $300,000. Now it's not affordable anymore. That's a big problem. Talked to the mayor of Madison. Here's what we did for affordable housing. We built all these tiny homes. And they serve a purpose. But I don't know if a tiny home is necessarily what we absolutely have to have here in Menomonie. I think we need a mixed-use buildings. I think we need some tiny homes. I think we need some real affordable houses for workforce housing. Workforce housing is a house that people can, they're not having 5, 6, I'm the youngest of 7 kids. Families are not having those big families anymore. They're having 1 or 2 children. They're waiting later in years. I do like a couple ideas that were brought to the mayor's office, and one is, having a secondary house in the backyard. I think that has merit as long as the backyard is big enough. I think that's something we are looking at. We made the lot sizes smaller that you can build on in the city of Menomonie, so now you can build more houses on smaller lots. I do have a really good plan, and I don't know if I'm ready to announce tonight or not, but We're going to use that $2.5 million. By next year, we're going to have $3 million probably in this, this fund. And I would like to say, let's get people into an affordable house, let's guarantee the loans, and let's get them into a house under $100,000 so they can make reasonable amount of payments. We're going to work with retired builders. I already talked to what used to be UBC, and I can't remember the, oh, I need more time. Can I have an extension? I'll come back to this.
Yeah, so as Mayor Knapp mentioned, we have $2.4 million in this account, and 75% of it has to be used towards affordable housing, and the other 25% can be used towards affordable housing or any housing in general. And I believe we need to have a revolving loan fund to help developers and get them more higher profit margins to build these affordable houses. The developers don't want to come in and build single-family homes. We sent out a bid for a development over at Nicholas Drive, and only one came back and said they want to do multi-family homes and rental units. They don't want to do single-family houses because the profit margins aren't there. So if they're not going to build it, the profit margins aren't there for a $210,000 house, which is considered affordable in Dunn County, then we need to help out those developers and with this revolving loan fund with that $2.4 million. And then we also need more housing in general. We need workforce housing, we need executive housing, we need starter homes, because the more homes that you have in your market, because markets are based on your area, the more the housing prices are going to come down. So we need not just affordable housing and low-income housing, we need a variety of housing, and we need to get these developers in here and get the housing going so we can lower the prices in this market here as well. And yeah, I think that's the route to go there with the affordable housing on that end, and I look forward to bringing those housing developers here to Menomonie.
All right. How do you view the relationship between the mayor's office and professional city staff to ensure that city government functions effectively and respectfully? Matthew Crow will answer first.
Yeah, so the city will have the administrator, the public works director that report to the mayor, and then a lot of the other people report to the public works director, and they report to the administrator. But again, like I said, I've managed people in the past. This is a leadership role, and it's really about building culture. And culture is built on behaviors and being professional and being respectful, and not just getting information from people, but you're seeking information. You're seeking information from everybody that works there about what is the best way to do something. What am I missing? You don't want just the yes people there. And so I think we can build a good culture. In City Hall, we have great talent. We have great people there with Eric Atkinson, and we have David Schofield, and I have a great working relationship with Kate Martin and really everybody down there at City Hall. And I look forward to being a leader in there, and again, not one that micromanages, but one that helps collaborate, helps develop, and it's a two-way street. It's not just me having expectations for them, but they have expectations for me as well, and if they're not successful, it's because of the mayor. It's because of their direct supervisor as well. So they need something from me, they need support, they need resources, they need help. I'm there for them, and also with the city council. Again, they don't report to me. I would report to them, and we would have a good working relationship with the city council. Even when we don't agree, we're not going to agree on everything with everybody at the city administration. But I get along with these people well, and I look forward to collaborating with these people. And I think we're going to have a great working environment that will allow us to get a lot of stuff done.
Interesting question. When I first got into the mayor's office, I had 20 employees, 2 screen printers, 2 artists, 2 screen printers, and 13 salesmen. I found out in a hurry that the mayor's office was a little more demanding than I had time for. So I scaled back my business, and I did one thing that I think about quite often, and our poor administrator. I micromanaged him the first year to find out everything I could about the city and how it worked. And finally I said, wow, Lowell, you're doing an amazing job. And so I learned a lot from Lowell Pranger. He's a super smart guy. The one thing I learned is if he puts his glasses down on the bottom of his nose and looks at me over the head and shakes his head, he'll say, that's a bad idea, Mayor. That's a bad idea. And then Randy Idy, our public works director, would come in and say, well, you know, parts of it we can work with. Let's come up with a different strategy, a different plan. Instead of dredging both sides of the island and half the lake, let's just take a portion of it. Let's just take what we can afford. Let's get the dredging done, because that was one of the topic matters. Let's get the dredging done on the north side of Wolski's Bay, because we can afford that, and we can figure out grants, and we can come up with money to do that. So when we did that, it took care of the stink in Wolski's Bay. It fixed that portion. Then we did the other side of Wolski's Bay, and fixed that. And then we went across the lake, and we did that little portion. But at first, my scheme or my plan was way too big, and it was unaffordable. But we worked through it. Those guys kept me, really aligned me very well with the mayor's office. And I used to go meet with Mayor Stokey once a week. We'd go meet at Denny's, and I'd talk to him, and he'd say, well, Mayor, you know, I don't know about that. I think maybe you should take maybe a different approach. And so we had weekly meetings, a couple times a month for sure, and what a great influence on me Mayor Stokey was. And then now we have Eric Atkinson and David Schofield, and they are super brains. And I'm tested and challenged all the time because they are way smarter than I am, but we work great together.
All right, at this time I would like to remind the audience members to write down your questions on the provided index cards. There are league members walking around. They have extra index cards in case you didn't grab one on the way in. Once you have your questions written down, feel free to flag down your league member and they will collect them. Next question. There are several intergovernmental and public and private initiatives to monitor and improve water quality in the Red Cedar River watershed. What are the most important actions that the city of Menomonie can take to support the improvement of water quality in Lake Menomonie and our watershed? And Randy Knack will answer first.
Well, that's a great question. When I first got in the mayor's office, before I got in the mayor's office, whenever I mentioned the Lake Menomonie, I was pretty much shut down, and nobody could seem to think I had any good ideas to fix Lake Menomonie or the watershed. But since then, we did 3 dredging projects on Lake Menomonie. We brought awareness to the fact that Lake Menomonie is in bad shape. It's coming from watershed fertilizers, too much phosphorus, too much nitrogen, all of that. Since then, we started the water conference at Stout, which is a great asset. We formed the Farmer-Led Council up north in the Barron and Steck area. Randy Idy did an amazing job with that. That was our public works director. The Farmer-Led Council went together and worked with other farmers to say, hey, you know what, if we could take the cattle out of the creeks, fence them out, maybe that would lessen the phosphorus and nitrogen coming down the creeks, going into the lakes and so forth. So the Farmer-Led Council was something that started here in Menomonie, Wisconsin. The water conference was started here in Menomonie, Wisconsin. We've got Stout working on water quality issues. We have been, ever since we started testing and working on this 16 years ago, actually 12 years ago was our big push, our water quality in Lake Menomonie has been getting better and better every year. If you notice now, it doesn't stink nearly as bad. And I've got a plan in front of in Madison on how to fix our watershed. We need a lot of money to do that, right? The DNR doesn't have any money. And I've been pushing this since forever. When Walker was in, Governor Walker was in, I used to go and talk to him and we'd have arguments on how to get things done. Well, then we'd argue and then we'd go have dinner or whatever afterwards. And the new governor, I've talked to him about how can we fix our watershed? How can we fix our lakes and rivers? Well, I've got a plan or a proposal in front of Madison right now on where to get the money from. And it's not a hard solution. There is enough money out there that we can fix our watershed and come up with the money. And I know it comes out of a budget called tourism, but 10% of the tourism budget would give us $87 million to fix our watershed, and I've got that in front of Madison now.
Yeah, so somebody that has almost 2 decades of environmental engineering experience and water treatment expertise, I look forward to tackling the challenges of Lake Menomonie. There's not one thing that causes the blue-green algae in Lake Menomonie. There's not one silver bullet that's going to fix Lake Menomonie and clean it up as well. It's really going to be a collaborative effort from all of the participants in the Red Cedar watershed up north of us in Barron County and in Dunn County. We're at the bottom of the watershed, so we collect all of the pollutants, phosphorus, the nitrates, and it comes from the dam, it comes from industry, it comes from farmers, and it's not a natural lake, it's a man-made lake, and so all of that plays into it. This blue-green algae is also very resistant to chemical treatment, and we also have zebra mussels now that are present in Lake Menomonie, which will actually kill basically the entire habitat in Lake Menomonie except for the blue-green algae. So that's another challenge that we're going to have there as well. The best thing that we can do is we can have stormwater ponds north of Lake Menomonie, in and outside of the city, that helps collect the runoff from the stormwater so that the pollutants settle out before it hits Lake Menomonie. And as somebody with this water quality expertise, dredging is the last thing that you do, because all it is a temporary Band-Aid, and it's a very expensive temporary Band-Aid that the taxpayers have to pay as well. So after you have a pollution management plan and you have that pollutant load under control, then you dredge, because when you dredge, it takes everything off of the bottom of the lake and it removes those pollutants, but then you're having all those pollutants coming down the Red Cedar watershed that's just going to replace it. And so we see this in Lake Altoona. They dredge, they're going to have to dredge again 8-10 years later. It'll be the same year with us. We don't want the temporary Band-Aids, we want the permanent fixes and have those relationships and collaboration with Barron County, with North Dunn County, with all those, everybody there to help clean up the lake. And it'll take a long time and a lot of money.
All right, we're going to transition now to questions from the audience. Here's the first audience question. Is there another elected official or public figure who has been a role model for you? Who and why are they your role model? And we will start with Matthew Crow.
Yeah, the elected public official is my grandfather who passed away, and my uncle. They're federal judges in the state of Montana. My grandfather was a Korean War veteran. He went to law school and had 5 kids while he was in law school, and had the 6th kid after that. Grew up during the Great Depression. He was able to, we went to a private Catholic school, and he was able to go to school Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and take Tuesday, Thursdays off, and do some more on Sunday school, because he said he'll never go to college and have a real job there. So he ended up going to law school to get his economics degree, and then going to law school and having a successful career as an attorney who worked with labor unions and negotiated labor contracts and workman's comp claims, and really he poured his life into his community. And he was, part of the Special Olympics. He was part of the Elks Foundation, the Knights of Columbus, any organization that you could think of, he was a part of it there. And he has this motto that if we all do a little, we can accomplish a lot. And I've tweaked that in my campaign to say, if we all work together, we can accomplish great things. And so that man is truly my hero. We lost him in November of 2020, and I miss him every day.
I have only one person that I would really say I totally respected and admired, and that was Mayor Stokey. Mayor Stokey was very forthright with me. He was very honest. He would say, this is right, this is wrong, this is how you deal with it. He was he's still very intelligent. I just met with him the day before yesterday, again. A great man, and I attribute any success in the mayor's office that I've had to Mayor Stokey, because without him, I wouldn't have known where to start. So, that's all I got.
All right, second audience question. If you lose the election, what will you do relative to your current job? Quit, move, carry on? And Randy Knack will answer first.
Well, I'd probably go back to work. I've been semi-retired for about a few years now, and it's a good thing because sometimes the mayor's office can be quite demanding. It's the meeting schedule isn't like every day, all day. It's I have a 9 o'clock, I have a 7:30, I have a 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, a 3 o'clock. You never know. But if you go to the urban forestry, those are typically 6 o'clock at night. If you go to the bike ped, those are 7 o'clock at night. The city council meetings is 7 o'clock at night. A plan commission meeting is 7 o'clock at night. The morning meetings for the economic development are 7:30 in the morning. The agenda meetings are 9 o'clock in the morning. The staff meetings at 10:30 in the morning. So if I wasn't semi-retired, I would not be able to do this. So I guess if I didn't have the mayor's office, my wife would probably say I probably have to go back to work, which is not a good idea. But But I enjoy the mayor's office. I work with great people. I want to do good things for Menomonie. And the only reason I'm in the mayor's office is not for Randy Knack, it's for Menomonie. I guess I care.
Yeah, so if I were to lose, this wouldn't be the last that you see of me. I would very much plug into other places where I would plug into the Chamber of Commerce and be in their advocacy group, and go down to Madison and advocate for Menomonie, and be a part of the local nonprofits. Be a part of the Dunn County Humane Society, be a part of Stepping Stones. Plug in wherever I can. And these nonprofits give a huge service to the area, to the city, that if we were to lose these services, due to a lack of funding, whether if it's from the city or if it's from state or if it's from federal or if it's just from them not being able to fundraise, the city would have to take that on. If we lost the Dunn County Humane Society, we'd have to have police officers and have animal control, and we have to pay for them. If we lost the cemetery, we'd have to our businesses to take up front, and even just handicap parking on the sidewalks is very expensive there as well. So again, we need to expand our tax base, get more revenue in, and we need to use our tax increment district dollars in that downtown TID and in those TID areas throughout the city to make capital improvements. That's the whole point of a TID. Is to reuse those. It's like a revolving loan, and to keep using those that money in that TID there. So one of the things I'm most proud of being on the Parks and Recs Advisory Board was the Phelan Park playground equipment upgrade. That it was ADA handicapped accessible, and making that investment into the community. You're really inviting everybody into the community. You're not discriminating against anybody, and I hear a lot of people saying they won't go downtown. They want to go downtown, or they want to be involved in the city, but they can't because we don't have the parking, and we don't have the buildings aren't up to code for ADA handicap accessibility. So we need to make some strategic investments in there. We need to use some of the TID dollars. We need to get some grant funding to help out these business owners because they don't have that kind of capital up front to do that. And so, but it's a very important that we have an aging community, and being handicapped or having a disability is the largest minority that any of us can be a part of at any time in the future.
Okay, well, a few years ago we did put all brand new sidewalks in downtown. Anytime that we add a road, sidewalks automatically get the wheelchair accessible ramps. We recently added a wheelchair accessible electric bike to our trail system. Right now, it's still on its way, I think. Ashley, is it here yet? Not yet? Okay, it's coming. That'll be fun for people to be able to go, handicapped folks in a wheelchair, be able to put it in the back of a bike, go down our trails. Our trails are amazing. Let me just talk a little bit about ARPA funds. We got $1.3 million in ARPA funds. Instead of spending them on adding things to our city that would take reinvestment in, we did put Matt mentioned the playground equipment at Phelan Park. That was one of the initiatives from the ARPA dollars. Anytime that we can use money from grants or ARPA dollars or things of that nature that are a one-time expense, so we're not adding a new police officer, we're not adding something that's going to cost us $100,000 next year, next year, next year. No, instead we are working on good things for Menomonie. Our trail system is second to none. I want more handicapped bikes. I want Surrey bikes so that we can take elderly people from the nursing homes. I love visiting nursing homes and giving people the love that they need. The Dunn County Transit System does an amazing job for the city and getting people out and about in different places. We do need more parking downtown. We are slated for we are looking at a parking ramp going in downtown. It would be kind of behind where the Anxious Jewelers is and behind that area. So that's being looked at. It's about 5-6 years out probably. We are working with Stout heavily on different projects. We are possibly closing off a road called 10th Street down by Stout campus to give them more accessibility to their needs down there. The Main Street will be redirected. The highway will come off of Main Street in a couple of years and be redirected, and I'm fighting against roundabouts.
All right, here's another question from the audience. What do you know about Altoona and their amazing growth and beautiful places they have developed? And do you think their strategies would work for Menomonie?
Well, yes, Altoona, they were right in the middle of an area that could be developed really easily with Eau Claire and Chippewa Falls and so forth. We are kind of encapsulated with the University of Wisconsin Stout and the lake, and so our growth has to go outward and not inward. Therefore, we are working with what we've got, but there's great growth potential. Anytime somebody comes to town and wants to build a building project or do a project that fits Menomonie, we're all about it. And we encourage TID districts and we encourage TID money being used for those projects. There is money available, there's grant monies, and there's revolving loan funds available.
Resources planning, and again, that kind of goes into that strategic plan again that I've been talking about, having a budget that fits that strategic plan there as well. And so I think that there is a way to do this, and I think we have the land to do that, and we need the housing, and we need the rentals, and to upgrade the rentals, but not just new rentals, but the rental stock that we have also. And I know Altoona and Eau Claire County have done a great job restoring their rentals, and I championed the Grow Shield ordinance here that was with rent abatement, proactive rental inspections that really focused on not just city code and rental codes, but also habitability violations. So if you pay $800 in rent and you have exposed electrical wiring, the landlord has 30 days to fix it. If they don't fix it in that time, it's $400 off rent until 50% off rent until that's fixed, 70% off if you only have one toilet working. So we passed this ordinance, and I championed that to help revive our housing stock, and this was a proven blueprint that Eau Claire County has done, and I look forward to getting other incentive plans in place to help landlords to get our housing stock back to where it needs to be.
All right, another audience question. What do you think of the efficacy of the I-4 zoning? What do you think it should include? And Matthew Pro will answer first.
Yeah, so the I-4 zoning, for those that don't know what the I-4 zoning is, it's industrial zoning specifically for data centers. And before the I-4 zoning, the definition of data center was passed before I was on the council as a warehouse, so it could fit the industrial 1 zoning, which isn't sufficient to protect our citizens. And so, first off, I want to let people know that I am not for the data center. I don't support the data center project. I have a lot of concerns, and part of the concerns need to be rolled into this I-4 zoning, and that has to do with water usage, maximum, peak water usage, gallons per minute water usage, air pollution. Make sure that there's a reclamation plan and reclamation bond in place. So one of the concerns that I have is that the data centers technology is moving so quickly that we're going to be left with obsolete infrastructure, and that they're going to close up shop in 10, 15 years, and then we're going to be left to pay the bill. So making sure that they have that reclamation bond in place so that they do all the cleanup on there. To make sure that there's solar panels and wind energy and making sure that they have their own substations so that they are paying for all of the energy going into it, and that they're paying for all of the infrastructure going into that, and that it's not coming on the taxpayer's dime, and that they're not going to increase the rates for electricity here. So we need to have setbacks, we need to have building heights, noise pollution, light pollution, all that stuff, decibel levels, and making sure that that ongoing humming doesn't affect quality of life out there. There also needs to be industrial zoning on construction and how long the construction is going to be, and how much dirt they're going to have, and it's really going to affect the quality of life for people out, in Red Cedar out there. It's one of the reasons why I'm against the development of the data center.
The data center is definitely the elephant in the room, I believe. It's the elephant in Menomonie. There's a lot to be said about the data center. The I-3 zoning was what was recommended that it be put into, that the data center would fit the I-3 zoning. After the city council voted in favor of the data center, it was obvious and apparent that the Menomonie didn't want a data center. For about 4 months, I didn't sleep at night. I fought against the data center. We came up with a plan on how to stop the data center. I talked to every attorney I could find, until I found one that said, the only way you can stop this is to go backwards. And go back from an I-3 to an I-4, and then you can set the rules. Make the rules that apply to Menomonie. Now those rules can be pretty stringent. And even with the stringent rules, an I-4, that doesn't mean that the city council has to pass that land as zoned I-4. It could stop this data center totally, 100%. There was individuals on the city council that I was surprised that voted in favor of the data center folks, or the data center. Matt, you voted in favor of the data center. And I have the documentation in the audience if anybody wants to see it, and it's unfortunate. So, and maybe it was just maybe we had more better things to do. But the I-4 zoning will allow us to put the rules in place to protect Menomonie. And those, like Matt said, the constant hum, the water usage, the electric usage, things of those nature, that's all important. Maybe we can make it so that they don't come, they don't want to come, and Menomonie's not maybe a good spot for them. So I'm opposed to the data center. I always have been, and hopefully we can prevent the data center from coming to Menomonie.
All right, thank you to the audience for your questions. We're going to proceed now with closing statements by each candidate, and we're going to go in the reverse order of the opening statements, which means that Randy Knapp will go first with a 2-minute closing statement.
Okay, well, I want to go back to affordable housing. Affordable housing is something that we can accomplish here in Menomonie, Wisconsin. Affordable housing is something that I look forward to. That's one of my main goals. That being said, I talked to Shooter up at, I can't think of his real name. What's his real name? Steve Shooter. Okay, Steve, anyways, he gave me some really good pricing on what it takes to build a 900 square foot house, $47,000 without a garage and a basement. And then what does it take to get a builder in there to build that house? So it's possible to build houses for $100,000. There's other methods too, dome houses, yurts, all kinds of other interesting housing attributes, such as the 3D cement buildings that Stoutmount has. That could apply. Affordable housing is attainable in Menomonie, Wisconsin. That's one of my goals. The other thing that I've got that I'm working on right now is indoor pickleball, convention center, a sports facility with a bar and restaurant. And that's going to be huge. So phase 1 would be a pickleball bar restaurant. Phase 2, sports center. Phase 3 would be a motel, hotel type thing. And we've got site selecting going on currently. I met again the day before yesterday with the individual out of Woodbury. He's coming to Menomonie on Saturday to take another tour and look around, and I'm excited. Menomonie's moving in the right direction. We've got a lot of great things to go. When it comes upon dredging our lake, dredging does work. A limnologist told me one time that anytime that more than half of your lake is less than 10 feet deep, you're going to have an algae problem. Well, if you go up to Chetek, if you fly over the Red Cedar River, it's clear until you get to the Chetek flowage, or the Chetek River, and at that point it turns green. It stays green all the way down to Sand Creek, and it manifests, comes into Lake Tanner, and it gets worse from there. So there is a plan in place.
So all cities need to strategically grow. If you're not strategically growing, you're not bringing in more revenue. If you're not bringing in more revenue, you can't balance your budget. As life gets more expensive for all of us, it also gets more expensive for government as well. So each of those line items is more expensive even if you're not adding more line items into this. And I am the pro-growth candidate here. I'm the pro-positive change candidate here. And when you don't have a strategic plan in place, and you don't have a budget that fits that, and you're not being proactive with the developments that you want here, you end up in a reactive city, and you get what falls in your lap, like the data center. I did not vote for the data center. There has been no vote on the data center. I voted to annex the land from the county into the city to expand our tax base, to lower your taxes. I voted for environmental protections as well. I did not bring the project to the city of Menomonie. I did not have my staff sign NDAs for the city of Menomonie. I did not tour a data center in Iowa and get the red carpet treatment. I did not accept $200,000 up front from the developer for a pre-development agreement to bring the data center here to Menomonie. I think this really had a black eye on the community and this whole debacle about how this whole thing was handled with a lack of transparency. And there's been several examples of how this administration has had a lack of transparency since that time that I don't have time to go into. That question was not asked, for this, but I look forward to having a strategic plan and a budget that fits that, and having Menomonie strategically grow and bringing in development that fits our values, to expand our tax base, and to modernize our city, and really have leadership that is the next generation with everything that is changing and changing at a rapid pace. And I think it's time for a new face, a new leadership here in the city of Menomonie, and I look forward to being your next mayor here in the city of Menomonie. When we all work together, we can accomplish great things.
All right, thank you to the candidates for your closing remarks, and we're going to hear now from Ellen Oaks.
I would like you all to give a round of applause for two brave people who are putting a lot out there for you today. I'm proud of you, both of you, for doing what you're doing, for trying to put a choice in front of the electorate. That's how this game works. Put a choice in front of the electorate. And to come here and to be involved in a forum like this, of course the league is happy because you were able to come. But I think these people are happy too. So again, let's applaud them. And I would like the two candidates to applaud the audience. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Afton Greco for doing the questions. And as she said, she is director of the Menard Center for the Study of Institutions and Innovation at UW Stout. I want to thank, I have a list here, let me hold it where I can see it. I want to thank all my friends from the League of Women Voters for helping to put this together. With a special thanks to my co-president. And I want to thank Melissa Neeland and the Dunn County Historical Society for letting us use this space. I want to thank Andrew Mersil. I believe he attended. I'm not sure. Are you here, Andrew? He was. Ah, there he is. He is our county clerk, and he and his office have supported this event. And I want to thank again Steve Hansen and Ian Dunn County for making the live stream possible. And I think tonight the event shows what the US of A can do in a local setting. Thank you all.